After 1.5 years of a healthy relationship, my F18 girlfriend abruptly changed. "I don't love you anymore," she said, and became a totally different person. Now I'm left questioning if the girl I loved is gone for good or just hiding behind a shell. How can I move forward? We dated for approximately 1.5 years, and during the first year, everything was truly wonderful. We were supportive of each other and loved each other deeply. We hardly ever fought, and whenever we needed reassurance, we were there for one another. It was the healthiest relationship I have experienced in my troubled life, and I have endured a lot of trauma that I have never shared with anyone other than her. She would comfort me when my past affected me, and our entire relationship was everything I ever desired. It was all she wanted too. We genuinely supported each other until August 2024. We each had work and friends outside of our relationship, but we both became jealous when we spent time with anyone of the opposite gender. As a result, I gradually reduced my conversations with women and eventually stopped completely for her sake. She did the same, but she still spoke with some of her older friends often, which I did not mind. As her college began in August 2024, I felt her distancing from me. I found myself losing sleep worrying about her and whether she would stay with me. I expressed my concerns to her when I did not appreciate certain behaviors, and while she reassured me she would revert to those behaviors after a week. In addition to that, I was overwhelmed by a significant number of stressful events in my life regarding my family during that time, which emotionally drained me. I began to wonder if taking a break would be beneficial for both of us since I did not want to negatively impact her emotions because I was in a rough place. She, of course, declined the idea of a break, and I accepted her decision. Throughout August and September, things continued to worsen. I worried more, felt stressed about our relationship, and at times found myself angry with her for not taking my feelings seriously. I was aware that she loved me, but my anxiety prevented me from believing it. During this period, she started to take her music career more seriously, joining a band at her college that performed gigs at coffee shops. Meanwhile, I began to dedicate more time to my sport, which required me to travel among three main cities in the country constantly. She never really made time for me. She never canceled a practice or came out late, even when I would take an extra flight to see her or cancel races. I did not do this to compel her to do the same for me, but it would have been nice if she had made some time for me. This, along with other issues, affected me deeply, and whenever I confided in her, she would listen, genuinely take me seriously, but never made any lasting changes. In October, I fell seriously ill for nearly 2 weeks and was hospitalized, receiving injections every 2 hours without a single decent night's sleep. During that time, I asked her if she could stay with me longer if she could not meet me. She agreed, yet again her follow-through was lacking. Throughout September, she expressed excitement about Boyfriend's Day, which did not initially concern me, but her enthusiasm made me feel excited too. Unfortunately, I was in the hospital when it arrived. On that day, something shifted within me. She did not text me at all, and I failed to call her. She returned home around 10 p.m., which was normal since her practice would occupy her entire evening. She spent time with her mother watching a movie, and then at 11:58 p.m. she wished me, "Happy Boyfriend's Day, I love you a lot. I am sorry I could not text today, I am going to sleep." After a full day of bleeding from my nose, constant headaches, and vomiting, she was aware of my condition. I received those 3 texts and nothing more. I understand now that it may not have seemed significant, but her actions during September and October made me feel terrible. And despite how much I communicated with her and how much she loved me, she failed to show any genuine change. Once I recovered, I began to view her differently. She remained the same, and while I knew she loved me a great deal and was genuinely happy with me, I was miserable during those 2 months, begging for help. She would cry when I shared how her actions impacted me, but she never changed enough to make a difference. Throughout the remainder of October and the first week of November, I found it increasingly difficult to cope. Every 5 days, I would call her out on her behavior, resulting in an hour-long confrontation where I resorted to insulting her for making me feel this way. I started mentioning that I needed a breakup. However, she insisted that we would work through it as we had previously, and I chose to believe her. While there were some changes, they only lasted for about a week before she began to revert again. I told her that I needed her support and that if she was not there for me during such difficult times, I could not handle the stress, and I felt we needed to break up. She would hold me tightly, apologize for everything, and I would soften like a popsicle and apologize in return. I would realize the impact of my words only after seeing her tears, which made me feel terrible. After these 3 to 4 weeks of arguments, I started feeling better. Our relationship became healthier again. It was not precisely as it had been before, but it was a significant improvement, and we continued to make progress. I had an international race for which I was only capable of competing thanks to her support, and she won her singing festival. However, whenever anything negative occurred, even slightly, I would become anxious and seek her reassurance. If she could not provide it, I felt abandoned. We had a minor argument about this, but it was resolved. She began to feel downhearted because she could not keep me happy, and I would uplift her, expressing my love and reassuring her that we would get through this together. In December, she stopped communicating with me for 3 or 4 days straight, and I felt abandoned once again. Unable to tolerate her games, I asked for a breakup. She cried and insisted that we would still talk, and though I still loved her, I expressed that while we would still talk and see each other, I could not be there for her if she was not there for me at that moment. I was very stressed and had a lot on my plate, which I unintentionally took out on her. She claimed it did not matter as long as I was with her. I regret that decision. She was depressed for 5 days, and when I saw her again, she looked empty and sad. I approached her, hugged her, and told her that I would always support her. We cuddled and fell asleep together, and she assured me that she would never leave my side, to which I reciprocated with a promise never to leave hers. Here's where things became confusing. 2 weeks later, just before Christmas, she expressed that she wanted a break. I was taken aback, and she said she did not want to communicate with me at all without providing any reasons. When I inquired about her reasons, she did not supply them, so I kept messaging her despite her request for no contact. I spent Christmas and New Year's alone, worried about her while she attended a house party with close friends. I felt depressed during this time as she would not explain her silence. In January, she called me and said she wanted to meet. I agreed, and she looked at me with the same affection as before. We had the best date I have ever experienced with her, and she expressed how happy she was to have met me, as was I. I said, "I love you," and she hesitated, failing to reciprocate the words. We conversed more the day after our date, but by the end of the day, she reminded me that we were still observing no contact, stating that her current kindness did not mean we were truly back together. Once again, I asked her repeatedly why, but this time, she simply left me on read. 3 weeks later, she called me again and said she wanted to break up. She addressed issues that I believed we had already resolved. She had previously stated they were solved when we were together and began to speak to me as if I were insignificant. She laughed or smiled in a narcissistic manner while saying things like, "My eyes have opened and I don't love you anymore," with a narcissistic smile on her face. It felt as though she had been transformed into a different person, unlike the girl I had known. I attempted to break through the emotional barriers she had erected by holding her in my arms. She began to cry, saying, "You hurt me, and I do not like who I have been with you these past months," along with other hurtful comments. I held her and consoled her, assuring her that we could resolve everything easily if she just trusted me, but she did not believe me. After this incident, she changed drastically. She painted her nails black, added red highlights to her hair, got a new haircut, and adopted a new wardrobe style, becoming more socially active. When I attempted to reach out for answers, which I deemed valid, I feel there were none, and if there were, they could easily have been resolved. She failed to respond, and when she did, her attitude towards me had shifted dramatically. One thing I distinctly remember her saying was that she felt small with me. She claimed she had never had anyone make her feel small before. When I asked what about me made her feel that way, she stated that I never laughed at her jokes despite always having done so. She implied that whatever she enjoyed doing, such as her music, she believed I did not find it important, even though I genuinely did. In our conversations, she treated me with complete indifference, saying whatever hurtful comments she desired, memories that I would rather forget. I sought another chance and felt she still loved me when we discussed it. It was simply the tough exterior she had built to shield herself. To keep it brief, she agreed to try again, but only for 2 weeks. I expressed that it was not enough time, but she began to complain about my mannerisms. How you behave when discussing serious matters, how you eat, how you smile, I hate your jokes now, etc. She stated that before the 2 weeks began, she wanted a proper no-contact week, and I agreed. However, on the fourth day of that break, I saw her liking a provocative post, which made me feel terrible. I called her asking why she liked that post, and she responded, "Even if I like it, it should not affect you. We are not together." In response, I said that she could hook up with someone else without it bothering me. She replied, "Even if I did hook up with someone, which I haven't, you have no right to control me." I was taken aback, questioning how she could make such a statement while we were on a break. She insisted that it was merely a break, not a breakup. I reminded her we had agreed this would be a break leading toward reconciliation, but she left me on read. We ended the break early, and she merely argued with me, claiming that I was forcing her to try again and attempting to control her. She threw around accusations to the point they lost their meaning. I never forced her or controlled her, so I was puzzled by these distortions. Before the 2 weeks commenced, she claimed that she felt zero love for me within her heart, and that she was merely trying again to see if her feelings might return. During those 2 weeks, she was harsh, cold, narcissistic, and quick to deny responsibility. Any topic I felt needed addressing was dismissed, and I pursued her like a lost puppy. In my opinion, the first week was the best. We seemed to improve daily. I would ask her how she felt during our conversations, and by the week's end, she expressed happiness to be talking to me. I could see a spark return to her eyes. It was working as I listened to her without interruption. However, she then stopped communicating again for 3 days. Upon her return, she had reverted to her previous self. 2 days into the second week, she stated, "I don't love you and I can't. I am only going through these next 5 days to conclude this once and for all." You can imagine how the second week played out. On the final day, I pleaded for a hug, which she initially declined. I hugged her anyway, kissed her forehead, and confessed my love. When I pulled away, I noticed a tear in her eye, but she pushed me away. I questioned why she had claimed to enjoy talking to me during the first week, and she retorted, I was ignoring my own feelings. Throughout the second week, I asked her what love meant to her, and she replied that it consisted of 70% feelings and 30% choice and actions. I responded that it was foolish and immature to think of love that way, and with her actions making sense to me in hindsight, I sought to reason with her, but she snapped, "Stop trying to force me and control me." For your information, she had never been like this before December. During our time together, she had been the complete opposite, the ideal partner for anyone. I believe she still possesses a part of her that loves me and recognizes that we complement each other well. However, this emotional barrier she has erected seems to be a result of the hurt I caused her. I want her back so desperately. I long to cup her face, kiss her, and love her until the end of my days, yet I never had the chance to do so. I suffer from a severe brain condition that can result in strokes and cause nose and ear bleeds. I do not know if I will survive until the end of this year if I continue to experience stress. She is unaware of this, and I doubt that this hardened version of her would care. Recently, I called her to express that I missed her, and she replied that she felt happier interacting with her college friends, primarily males, rather than being in a relationship with me or anyone else. I refuse to believe that is true because of what she had expressed to me during our time together. I cannot accept that people change so rapidly. Just last night, she featured in a song with a male friend she has known since 2021, who is about 8 years older than her and involved with another woman. There were no videos, just her vocal contributions that included inappropriate comments which made me feel nauseous. I have this feeling that she has cheated on me and has changed, although a part of me believes she would not have cheated on me. I find myself torn between two realities, believing that this new version of her might be unfaithful and holding on to the memory of the person I once loved who promised to care for me. Story 2. In a long-distance relationship, my girlfriend, 21, dropped a bombshell. "I don't want you watching porn." I always thought we were on the same page, especially since we've both admitted to watching it occasionally. Can I respect her feelings without losing my sanity? Today, I sent my girlfriend, 21 years old, a couple's Instagram reel that asked, "Is your boyfriend allowed to do this? Yes or no, couples edition." We occasionally share these types of videos because we are in a long-distance relationship while attending college, and these videos serve as one of the many ways we initiate conversations. I generally agree with her other responses to the various questions, but one response that troubled me was, "Is your boyfriend allowed to watch videos for adults?" She answered no, and we have not discussed the matter since then. The only previous time we addressed this topic was a few months into our relationship when we asked each other if we watched pornography. I mentioned that I occasionally did, and her response was similar. She also said she did occasionally. However, it seemed that she likely viewed it much less frequently, as she appeared shy about it and did not want to elaborate, so I did not press further. This seemed reasonable to me, and we did not delve deeper into the conversation, which is why I was somewhat surprised by her response of no when asked if I should watch pornography earlier today. From my perspective, since we are in a monogamous relationship and long-distance situation, I believed we would remain faithful to one another by not engaging in physical or emotional infidelity, which she seems to agree with for the most part. We have discussed what constitutes cheating and what does not, but pornography did not come up during those conversations. I initially thought that since both of us occasionally viewed pornography, it would be acceptable for me to watch it as well, especially considering the long-distance nature of our relationship, which would not impede our sexual lives. Additionally, we both enjoy physical intimacy whenever we are able to be together. My personal belief is that as long as one does not have a detrimental relationship with pornography, such as an addiction or an emotional attachment to specific videos or performers, and it does not interfere with one's physical and emotional love life or negatively affect how one treats their partner, it should be permissible. Moreover, due to the long distance, I personally find it difficult to function for extended periods without engaging in masturbation, which for me involves some viewings of pornography to help alleviate pent-up sexual tension, especially since I possess a high sex drive. I do not experience any emotional connection to pornography. I merely see it as a means to manage my sex drive while we are apart. Under normal circumstances, I would seldom view it if we were not in a long-distance relationship. I truly want to respect her feelings about pornography while also being able to manage my life without being constantly distracted by thoughts of sex. One solution I have considered is sexting her, which we have done before, or sharing explicit photos or videos, which we have previously exchanged on Snapchat and FaceTime. However, our schedules are already complicated, making it challenging to plan time for calls each night, let alone synchronize sexting, especially since she goes to bed hours before I do. Furthermore, she is more reserved when it comes to sending videos or pictures, and I do not want to pressure her to send me anything. Thus, I feel uncertain about how to proceed. My girlfriend and I place great importance on trust and communication, and I want to express to her that I was unaware of her feelings about pornography. I wish to understand her perspective in hopes we can reach a common ground and clarify our expectations and boundaries within our relationship. Nevertheless, I also need to take care of myself and my body to avoid being overwhelmed by sexual frustration. I am seeking advice on the best way to communicate with her, preferably from a woman's perspective, as that would be most helpful, but any relevant relationship experience would be appreciated, because I feel terrible about possibly damaging her trust in our relationship for so long, especially since this is a topic we should have addressed much earlier. The thought of how she might perceive me when I bring this up is distressing. It is challenging for me to conceive a reasonable solution that honors her feelings about pornography, while simultaneously alleviating my urges, without compromising her valid emotions regarding explicit content or her comfort level with nude images. I have contemplated not mentioning anything and continuing to view pornography or regulating my habits without explanation. However, we both value transparent communication. I would prefer to have an uncomfortable conversation than have it discovered that I have been dishonest for an extended period, potentially damaging the trust we have built together. Regardless, I intend to understand her perspective before deciding how to move forward. At this point, any advice would be appreciated. Summary: my girlfriend does not want me to watch pornography, but during our long-distance relationship, it is challenging for me to manage sexual frustration. I have viewed pornography without being aware of her feelings about it, and now I am seeking constructive advice on how to discuss this with her, ideally without jeopardizing the trust and communication we have established over the past 2 years.